What's good, y'all? It's your girl Ayana. I am back with another episode, and today I come with a revelation. Y'all, I don't think I want to be a mother. Or at the bare minimum, I've come to realize and really solidify that I am not in the position to be a mom, which makes sense. Your girl's almost 25. I just moved out into my own apartment recently. I'm making a name for myself. Children is nowhere in my future in the immediate years. But as me and my boyfriend have been progressing through our relationship, we have begun talking about children. Now, before I get too heavy into the conversation, let's backtrack a bit. Your girl has wanted to be a mom since she was a kid. I grew up an only child. I always wanted to have siblings. I did eventually get a stepsister, and now I have a younger half sister. I love them both down, okay? But me, I think not going through having siblings meant that I'm like, oh man, like eventually in my life, I do want to have kids for myself, like multiple kids, so then they can have siblings. I think that's where that came from when I was a kid, right? But as I progressed, I realized like my family, how do I best say it? The approach to starting a family, there wasn't an ability to family plan, if that makes sense, right? And I had this idea of how I wanted to go about starting a family. That now that I'm at this current stage in my life, I'm gonna just drop to y'all what I wanted in my plan. And then as I'm telling y'all the entirety of how I wanted the pregnancy and raising a kid to go, I'm gonna leave notes that say, but this is what's making me reconsider. All right, so let's strap in. Let's first talk about pre-pregnancy, the planning part of getting ready for a child. So, in an ideal world, I would want to get my body ready for pregnancy. And I don't mean just working out, eating right, maybe doing some herbal supplements. I also wanted to go through whatever testing is necessary to ensure that not only I'm fertile, but that I am able to carry. I am very likely to have endometriosis. So that means that me being able to have children is kind of up in the air. It's not a guarantee that I can, but it's not a guarantee that I can't. I would want to have the answers for that debacle first. And you can only imagine that that might not be a cheap procedure to get done, to find those answers for, right? Let alone the numerous other types of tests that can go into it. And just thinking about the cost first and foremost of getting myself ready for pregnancy alone before we even start spending on the doctor's visits, the diapers, all the pregnancy cravings, like that alone has me shivering. Now, obviously, the other hope is that I would have health insurance, but let's look at our economy right now, y'all. It's things ain't looking too hot, you know? After that, well, not after that, and at the same time, I also obviously would want to be married. I would want to um, already have a home. I would not. I would prefer not to be in an apartment. I would love to have a home, but once again, we're going back to the economy. These houses are expensive. They are no joke. Just being able to afford getting the house, let alone paying the mortgage, paying the utilities. I've been watching these prices inflate like nobody's business. And as we're moving through, bluntly, this presidency, I am not overly confident me and my boyfriend will be able to get a home anytime soon. It might be if we're lucky in our 30s, right? And just that reality, I think starts to slow down the journey into motherhood for me. I'm realizing I forgot the other thing I just said, and I am I am mad disappointed about marriage. We can get into that. Okay, so us getting married, this will be covered in an entirely different podcast, but we are in conversations of like how do we want to go about getting married? How do we want to go about a honeymoon? And we're going back to the conversation of cost again. So you're going to see the reoccurring theme for pre-pregnancy for me is it's already costly. It already is draining. And at its core, the theme of this video, more than anything, is that pregnancy requires sacrifice that I'm not ready to give. Which, like I said, I don't have to be at that place to give that sacrifice. But now I'm starting to wonder, will I be in a position, not necessarily will I be in the position to choose to sacrifice, but when I'm in the position to choose, because I'm for myself that I will make enough to be able to make that choice, please, okay? Will I still make the choice to do it anyways, or will I simply enjoy the money and the opportunity and the freedom that I have? So after the pre-pregnancy planning, right, we get into the actual pregnancy. And I got this reality shock through watching my mom carry my sister. Pregnancy is no joke. Pregnancy is no joke. And I'll speak on myself on this. Just getting pregnant could be very straightforward. You can get pregnant through the traditional means, or if you're unable to, you might have to go through like IVF, in vitro fertilization. That's not cheap. That is also not a fun experience. And from what I've seen, many different stories on them, it requires a mental sacrifice. It requires a physical sacrifice before you even carry the baby. And first of all, I'm giving a huge shout out to my IVF warriors. Y'all are some troopers. Y'all are amazing. And y'all made me realize that, man, if I want to go through that, I need to sit down with myself and think if I want to do that. Because that is not an easy choice to make. It's not. For some folks, it's like, I want a baby that bad. It's an automatic yes. For me, it is that is a hard choice to make, and I commend y'all for going through that, because that is scary for me, man. That is a scary it is a scary thing to watch, and as you move through pregnancy, of course people have their birthing plan, they have their pregnancy plans of, yeah, I'm gonna do this exercise, I'm gonna get all of my maternity clothes, I'll be sticking to this diet, and we'll consistently go to these doctor's appointments, but life happens and pregnancy is unpredictable. Now, I will asterisk that. Yes, you can have a pregnancy plan. You probably should have some type of plan for how you want pregnancy to go. What would you like to do? What type of lifestyle you're looking to have just to make your labor easier, right? Or the child's first year of development easier, along with just being a little bit more informed on the different types of conditions that a mother might could get while she's pregnant. I think that all those things are very important to know and be knowledgeable on, and have backup plans for the off chance that they happen. But the reality of the situation is pregnancy is unpredictable. Every pregnant woman is not the same, and every pregnancy is not the same. Now, it is obviously help to ask like your mother, your grandmother, what their pregnancies was like, because it's likely that you're going to have a similar pregnancy to them. Or you can ask like your mother-in-law, grandmother-in-law, but ultimately the pregnancy will be yours. And every sorry, I already said every pregnant lady and every pregnancy is not the same. Every baby is not the same, right? Every child is not the same. So even if you feel like you mastered it in one pregnancy, you might have an entirely different run the next go. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's insane to think about for me, man. Like, I think about also just I need to get off of cost, but it's just I know just seeing how expensive things are right now, cost is such a heavy thought with having a child. Hence why the DINK conversation is so prevalent. Pregnancy, labor, pre-pregnancy is all expensive. Which brings me into the pregnancy conversation, right? Because we can keep talking about the pregnancy cravings. We could keep talking about the cost of maternity clothes, the cost of nesting and getting the baby diapers and the clothes ready and the nursery ready. We can keep talking about the cost of baby showers. And I can go down the list of things that are just cost after cost after cost after cost after cost, after hormonal changes, after possible hair loss after you go through labor. Like, there's just so many pieces, right? Then there's the labor. Now, if my world was perfect, I would want to birth with a doula, and or I would be at a birthing clinic. Not like a regular hospital, just a clinic that feels a little bit more comfortable. Labor is just as unpredictable as the damn pregnancy. No shit. You know what I mean? It's you can have this due date coming, but it could mean that you have the child earlier than the due date, and you either have to get to the nearest hospital or you might have to give birth wherever you are. It can mean that the baby comes late and you have to be induced. It can mean that while you're in pregnancy, you have to get a cesarean because the baby didn't want to flip in the right direction. It can mean all these different types of complications. Labor is so daunting to me. And it's not even solely the pain that makes it daunting, it's the process itself. I know that I would be in a whole lot of pain. Labor is not something that's pain free for a lot of women. Some of them they don't feel anything, you know what I mean? But for most of us, it's not. It's a very painful experience, and I would want to know that knowing it's about to be painful, I would want my environment to be as much of a controlled, calm environment as I can. But the reality is, labor can be rather frantic. It can be rather frenzied, and it can feel like a very high intensity moment. So I would definitely, obviously, want to sit here and think about things like um, birthing plans a lot, like how to combat these type of stressful environments and everything. But and on a flip side, to give the thought of maybe I could be a parent as long as I can think about how it can go. But I've also heard so many stories of parents who couldn't go through their birthing plan because either the kid just got here and it is what it is, bump the birthing plan, the kid's already here, or complications happen and the birthing plan could not happen. We had to adapt, you know. So I think about that a lot when thinking about becoming a parent, that you inevitably have to give labor. The pregnancy isn't it. You have to the child has to come. And if you thought the pregnancy was unpredictable, the labor, strap in, baby girl. You know, it's about to be a ride. And man, y'all, what a ride it is. What a ride it is. Now after that, you have your postpartum. Now I'm going to tie what I'm about to talk about within postpartum into labor and into pregnancy as well. And that's talking about Black women's reproductive health. You know I could not have this video without this conversation. Black women's reproductive health hits very close to home with me. And not solely because I am a Black woman, before you say it, but it's seeing the realities and how disproportionately we are treated in this space, where people think that we have higher pain tolerances, where we're poorly treated, we're misdiagnosed or we're not diagnosed at all. The true fear that I have with all of it is that it would be my look that I have some crazy doctor, crazy GYN, that would not take my pregnancy seriously and it could put my life or my child's life in danger. That I think that fear is has been the heaviest on my mind as we've been watching the recent news, let alone just seeing how our healthcare system is devolving. Because at this point, I can't even call it evolving. It is going down, it's going backwards, right? It doesn't feel safe to be pregnant. And true, like pregnancy has come a long way, right? It has. There was definitely a larger time period way back in the day where women where it was common for women to die during childbirth. But even with that, it's still like we're still going through that struggle, especially with the overturning of Roe v. Wade as well. Like if there is a serious complication where something happens with the child and the child needs to be removed, like I don't want like the child needs to be emergency aborted. I don't at all want my life to be in danger because they refuse to properly remove a child that is now not going to make it and is now harming my body. Like all these realities scare me to death, y'all. It scares me to death. It does. And even thinking about once you enter postpartum depression, I have heard A, that the depression can start during pregnancy, and B, it is more intense than you can ever imagine. It's not solely a mental thing either, it's also a physical. It's the lack of sleep, it's the adapting to your child crying, and you have to figure out and learn how to navigate what all of the cries and the coos and the ahs mean. It's you this child doesn't know, so you're teaching a child at the same time how to live, which means that they might do things that you would look at a normal person like, why would you do that? But you can't scream at the kid, right? It's the baby is new. You can't do that. You have to give grace to the child, prayerfully. There's a good support system, not just within your partner but also within your family, because not having a village in that can be so difficult when you're raising a child. Then there's also the physical things too, of like, there's hair loss, there's now your body is totally different, and it probably won't ever go back to what it used to be. It's I've heard some things say that once like you're done with pregnancy, like, yeah, there's some time before you can like take a proper shower, so you're not getting adjusted to these smells, and your sense of smell is already haywire. Your hair and teeth might start falling out because everything, you might feel very dull, like your skin might feel dull and lackluster. Like, there's just so many pieces, y'all. There's so many pieces in the after part of having a child that I'm like, man, this is the trenches. No wonder. I joked around with this with my mom, but like there's a lockdown that happens after a mother gives birth where you will not see her for a minute. And now I see why there is that lockdown. Postpartum is no joke. It's nothing to sneeze at. And man, I don't know, yo. That is every part before you even get to the part of raising the child, right? Like once you finally get out of your postpartum, out of those first 6 months to a year, we're not even getting into the raising the child, the teaching them what's right and wrong and everything, and the 18 to 20 plus year commitment of being with your child financially, emotionally, physically. Like, the way you move as a person will change forever, and you will never go backwards. Once you are a parent, you are always a parent for the most part. There are some scenarios that go, but for the most part, once you're a parent, you're always a parent. And that is a heavy decision to have to make. And I think as I am growing, as I am maturing, and as I am really settling in my mid 20s, and once I hit 25 this year, I'll start, quote unquote, saying I'm going to start pushing 30. I know that's a crazy thing for me to say out loud. Now the conversation of children is becoming more popular, y'all. Like, I have friends who are already mothers, who are already fathers, who are already married, and it is crazy seeing how all of us are settling down. Now, don't get me wrong, your girl wants to settle down. I've already been talking about getting married. It's something that's been a hot topic in our relationship. So it's not at all I don't want to settle down. But actually, I just have a new topic I'm gonna bring up. There's a conversation between the choice of having children and the choice of getting married, and which one is a harder commitment conversation. And man, first of all, this is such, I feel like these two things should not be comparable. You know what I mean? Like, I think the commitment to both are both equally as important and equally as heavy, because the partner that you choose can make or break your entire fucking pregnancy, all right? But choosing to have the kid, depending on who you're with, can also make or break a wedding, a marriage. That tests a relationship. That's another point that is a struggle for me. It's like, is me and my boyfriend ready to have a child? Will that test our relationship in our current life, in our current era that we're in? Hell yeah, it will. We're not ready to go through the kid part. Do I think we wouldn't make it? We'll make it work, but it will not be easy, right? I think, and this is the final piece, and then I'll leave y'all with the message, and whatever feedback or whatever advice you'd love to give to me, or any type of thoughts you have about the conversation, just leave it in the comment section. The other piece, too, that makes me reconsider being a mom is my partner. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my man. And I think he would make an amazing father. This isn't speaking specifically on my current relationship. So before you go run at him saying, "Why are you treating Ayana?" Hold on. I ain't talking about him, but I'm keeping this very general. I see the importance of choosing the right partner before you choose to have a child. I see how important that decision is. Not just while once the child is here and you have to raise the child together. It shows up in pregnancy, it shows up in labor, it shows up before pregnancy, it shows up for the entirety of the journey. And I feel like the strengths and weaknesses of you and your partner will show up a lot while you're in this journey together. I think one of the things that my parents talked to both of us about was the importance of having a lot of these deeper conversations of how we want to move as a couple before bringing a child into the mix, settling into us as a couple. So, whether we're talking about how we want to approach religion, how we want to approach raising kids, how we want to approach finances, do we like traveling? You know what I mean? What type of lifestyle do we want in terms of eating, in terms of fitness? Like, a lot of these heavier conversations or like therapy, healing, that's a huge one. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But a lot of these conversations, for me, one, bring me comfort to have before bringing a child into the mix. So there's clarity and there's a game plan together. But also, when you're learning and you're growing with a partner, and you're learning more about them, you're learning more about what type of lifestyle they want, not just for y'all together, but especially what they dreamed of for themselves too. You can also start to get an inkling of what you could expect out of a child too. Like, okay, these are the mannerisms that our child might take on that come from you. These are the mannerisms that might come from me. These are the type of traits that can come from both of us. Like, you can start to get little inklings of what type of kid y'all might be bringing into this world. And I think it is a pretty important thing to ask because, and I'm gonna be blunt, all of us aren't meant to be parents. Some of y'all have some shitty traits. That isn't to call me perfect. I don't have some great traits either. But some of us have some traits that, listen, bro, respectfully, do not pass that off. Do not pass that down to somebody else. Leave that with you. Leave that with you. Okay. One hand, some of us ain't got good traits, but on the other hand, too, a lot of us don't know ourselves. And a lot of us are still learning our partners, learning each other. And when you're in a space where you don't really know who you are, or you don't know who the other person is, or you're still learning their journey in life and they're still in their development journey in life, it can be very difficult to also bring in a new soul that's starting their own brand spanking new life journey. And now you two are a key influence into their development. You two are key factors into who they will become later on in life, which circles me into mental health. I don't think this is a hot take, but I'm going to say the take anyways. Before I have a child, me and my partner will need to go through therapy, not just as couples, but as individuals too. This isn't to say there's something mentally wrong with us. That is a very serious concern. But we've all gone through traumas. We've all gone through things in our life that we do need to heal from that we need to reconnect with our inner child with, that we need to make peace with. There are certain traumas that it's not just I don't want these traumas to be passed down through generations. They have to stop with us. I want these traumas to be broken. I want us to recognize these traumas. I want us to be able to talk to our children about what we've gone through and be able to teach them how to avoid what we went through. Or if they have to go through a similar trauma to us, how to navigate it. This isn't to say we should be overbearing as parents, right? This doesn't mean we should be micromanaging out of the sake of, well, I don't want them to go through what we went through, so I'm going to helicopter mom them. No, that doesn't help anything. In fact, that 9 times out of 10 that dooms your kid to either repeat what you did, or they can go through an entirely separate trauma and just all in all in their development, and they might not feel safe to talk to you about it now. Now what, right? I would I wouldn't want to push my traumas onto my kid. I know there are some things that I go through that like I would that could lead to that type of push because I want to help guide them in a better direction than what I've gone through. But I want there to be I want mom to be healed enough to be able to talk about it. I want me as a mom to be able to be transparent and why I'm doing the things that I do and be able to give them the story behind why I do things because I want them to understand why am I doing this. I know for me, my kid is gonna have a lot of questions. As y'all can tell, I yap, I speak, I talk, I question, I ask a lot of things. My child's gonna have questions. I want to be able to answer them, and I want to be able to answer them truthfully. I don't want them to have to hear a because I say so. No, man, I that doesn't cure a child's curiosity. In fact, it'll just push them to go find answers for themselves. I know this was such just a long-winded tangent, but to circle back with it all, the journey through pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, postpartum, labor, and the importance of choosing the right partner and developing yourselves as individuals and developing yourselves as a couple. All of these pieces are what's bringing up this conversation for me. And as I'm continuing this journey uh, closer and closer into, at this given moment, closer and closer into marriage, 'cause I'm not married yet before y'all start freaking out. I'm not engaged either. I don't want none of my friends to hear this and start screaming. We ain't there yet, but we have been talking about it. I do want to keep this topic in mind. And I would love to know there are other people who have had these same type of thoughts too, or if there are parents or if there are dinks in the chat that can give feedback for what you would do, what you've done and why you chose your path and what how it's impacted you. So yeah, y'all. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for your support. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe depending on which channel you're on. I don't know if every channel can allow you to do that, but if you're on one that can do that, please be sure you can do so. If you are listening to me off of Substack, please be sure to eventually get to Substack. There are exclusive episodes just like this one over here. So I recommend you find your way over. And I will be sure to talk to you all soon. Stay tuned for more. Goodbye.